Hello everybody, my name is Mitch and today we are going to do a fight breakdown predictions video for Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. They're fighting for the light heavyweight belt at UFC 267. I'm excited for this one. Let's go ahead and get started. First we have Jan Blachowicz. He is fighting out of Poland, age 38, 6 foot 2 inches tall, 205 pounds, 78-inch reach, and a 44-inch leg reach. On the other end, we have Glover Teixeira. He's fighting out of Brazil. He's 41 years old, 6 foot 2 inches tall as well, 205 pounds for the light heavyweight division, a 76-inch reach, and a 42.5-inch leg reach. So we do see that Jan does have the slight reach advantage. I don't think it will play too much of a part. I feel like their tendencies and styles, fight styles, are really what's going to make this fight. Let's go ahead and get started looking into it. Alright, so both of these fighters are actually on a 5-fight win streak, and I'm going to go ahead and cover all of their fights since their last loss. For Jan Blachowicz, that means Thiago Santos up until Israel Adesanya up top. For Glover Teixeira, that means his fight with Corey Anderson all the way up until his fight with Thiago Santos, his most recent win. I'm going to start with the champion, Jan Blachowicz. Let's take a look. First, we have Jan's fight with Thiago Santos. He did lose that fight. The first 2 rounds were pretty competitive stand-up, I would say. Thiago Santos was starting to run away with it. At any rate, in the 3rd round, Jan tries to charge with something, and Thiago Santos counters him, drops him, and finishes the fight. The fight after that, we have Jan versus Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold implemented this push-up against the cage strategy. He really wanted to get a takedown. It was impressive to see that Jan wasn't able to get taken down. Luke Rockhold is traditionally a middleweight, so you do have to consider that, although he did look pretty large in the octagon, I thought. Anyway, during one of these clinch exchanges during the break, Jan catches Luke Rockhold with a very hard hook, and it drops him, knocks him out cold. We learn that Jan has pretty good takedown defense, and that he obviously has that Polish power. In the fight after that, we have Jan versus Jacare Souza. Now this was an interesting 5-round fight. Jacare pushes Jan up against the cage for a majority of the first 2 rounds and some of the last 3 rounds. At any rate, he loses a split decision. I feel like it could have gone toward Jacare's way. At any rate, I feel like what's important here is the takeaway can be that you can push Jan up against the cage. No one seems to be able to complete takedowns too well against him. I wonder if he focuses more on not getting taken down than he does actually, getting out of the position. But he seems to allow you to push him up against the cage. He does tend to punish in the clinch eventually. I feel like this is something to note, because Glover Teixeira is certainly going to try to push Jan up against the cage and complete a takedown. Next, we have Corey Anderson versus Jan. Corey Anderson was trying to pressure Jan similar to Jacare and Luke Rockhold. He was more willing to engage in the stand-up than Luke or Jacare was, and it does cost him. Corey Anderson comes in, and that legendary Polish power comes out again. Jan knocks Corey Anderson out. We learn that it's dangerous to pressure Jan. He does have very heavy hands, and he's skilled standing up. In the fight after that, Jan wins the light heavyweight belt against Dominic Reyes. This was a very good performance by Jan. He wins the first round pretty decisively. He does a lot of good things kicking wise, gets a lot of body kicks off on Dominic Reyes, starts to win stand-up exchanges. It carries over into the 2nd round, and he does knock out Dominic Reyes. This fight solidifies Jan as the light heavyweight champion, reminds everyone that he has very heavy hands, very good stand-up, very good counter punching. He's the champion. In his most recent win against Israel Adesanya, This was a very good fight. In the first few rounds, he shows that he can stand up with Israel Adesanya, and then in the later rounds, he shows that he can implement a plan, lays down on Israel Adesanya for the later rounds, and is able to win a decision victory. I'd say the takeaways would be Jan's stand-up is highlighted, his fight IQ is highlighted, his ability to implement a game plan is also shown in that fight as well. A lot of good things. The one bad thing I would note is he does appear pretty tired at the end of the fight, although that's not necessarily a bad thing. I imagine fighters should use everything they have in there with the allotted time. If you finish a 25-minute fight and you still have more to give, then did you give it your all while you were in there? I don't know. Moving on to Glover Teixeira's side of things, we have Glover versus Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson implements the same plan he tries to against Jan and just essentially moves forward, but this time it does work against Glover. He's able to win a decision victory. The next fight is Glover versus Carl Roberson. This was a crazy fight. Carl Roberson hurts Glover early and tries to get him out of there, appears to gas himself out. Glover turns it around, gets a takedown, and finishes the fight with a submission. You'll see that this is kind of a trend in Glover's fights. He's very hard to get out of there, and if you use too much energy trying to get him out of there and fail, he will punish you. The next fight is Glover versus Ion Cutelaba. Very similar fight. In the first round, Ion is using a lot of energy trying to get Glover out of there. In the second round, you see that Ion is visibly tired. It honestly looks like the beginning of the end. Glover gets his takedown and his submission. It really just shows that you need to be careful with trying to get Glover out of there. He seems to take punches very well, and then whenever they get into those crazy scramble scenarios, he's very good at ending up in positive situations for himself. His ability to get in a good position after a scramble is very good, and it seems like that leads to victories for him. Both Carl Roberson and Ion Cutelaba try to use a lot of energy to get him out of there, end up in weird scrambles. Glover gets a takedown and a submission. It's very clear that he's hard to get out of there, and you need to be careful when you're trying to not to use too much energy, and also keep him contained in those scramble scenarios. Next fight, we have Glover versus Nikita Krylov. This was a very good fight. A very back and forth fight, exhausting, grueling fight. It showed that Glover has very good cardio and he's got the fighting spirit, if you will. He's really in there trying to win. He's not just trying to cash a paycheck. He's willing to go into deep waters. The fight after that, we have Glover versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith appears in the early rounds kind of frantic. I don't know if it's just Glover's pressure or what, but something about whatever Glover was in there doing caused Anthony Smith to use a lot of energy early. You see him visibly tired in the later rounds, which again is where Glover tends to take over. He seems to have the cardio edge always, which is very scary when his game plan is to take you down, pummel you, and choke you out. This fight was a reminder that you have to pace yourself against Glover, or else bad things can happen. His most recent win against Thiago Santos. This was a very good example of everything we've been talking about. Thiago Santos rocks him very early in the first round, and also in the third round when he gets finished, he rocks Glover. Glover gets, in the weird scramble scenario, takes him down, and ends up submitting Thiago Santos. He seems to have a very clear path to victory, and it seems to work out for him often. You cannot use your energy up against Glover Teixeira. But alright, we've looked at all of these fights. Considering everything, my pick is Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz. So I feel like this is going to be potentially a very close fight. Jan's key to victory being keeping it standing up. Obviously, his counter-punching and his stand-up playing a part. He can't allow Glover Teixeira to come in and cause chaotic brawl scenarios. He can't let Glover tire him out. Glover will come in and try to start a brawl, and I'm curious if that will allow Jan to land or how Jan will deal with that. Jan has showed very good takedown defense so far. I'm wondering how it will fare against Glover. I feel like Glover is more of a true light heavyweight, if you will, at least in terms of folks that have tried to take Jan down in the past. I'm wondering if Glover will be able to complete it. I'm super curious about the 4th and 5th round. I do feel like Jan got kind of tired against Israel Adesanya. That could allow Glover to capitalize and do some damage and get a finish, try to get Jan out of there. If it goes to a decision, I definitely don't see Glover winning. I feel like what Glover needs to do is cause chaos, tire Jan out, and somehow get him out of there in the later rounds. It would be crazy to see Glover outwork Jan Blachowicz in there. But anyway, that's my pick, Jan Blachowicz. I'm super pumped for this fight. Leave a comment down below and let me know how you guys think this one's going to go. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe for more. That's all from me today. I will see you guys Saturday. Peace.